13 wins in a row. Can you believe we're still going? In the last 13 episodes, I've managed to rack up a total of £758 from the win streak alone, bringing our total profit to £750. Are we going to make it 14 today, or are we going to completely sink and start from the beginning? I buy faulty electronic items on eBay, attempt to fix them, and then sell them back on eBay for a profit. This is episode number 87 of Profit or Loss. And I've got to be honest with you, today I'm actually not feeling very confident. Let me explain why. I paid £190 for whatever's in this box, and the chances of me repairing it are actually pretty slim. But Joey, what is it? Tell us. This is in fact the new slim revision of the PlayStation 5. And again, like I said, I paid £190 for this console, which in my opinion is really cheap, or maybe the price that they should be when they're faulty. The eBay listing itself states that the fault is the console will not power on. There is a beep when you press the power button, but no lights. If you press the button every couple of seconds, it will beep. The good thing about this, obviously, is that there's been no repair attempt and the warranty seal is still intact from the factory. This console came out in, I think, around about November 2023. It is currently July 2024, meaning that this is still definitely going to be in its warranty period. I could just straight up send this back to Sony. Even though I'm not the registered buyer, I've done a video on my channel before where I had a faulty one of these consoles. When you played games, it would just crash, and I sent it off to the Sony repair center and they sent it back to me fixed. I'll leave a link to that video in case you're wondering up there. And considering this has the warranty sticker intact, surely, Joey, you should just do the exact same with this. Well, that wouldn't make for great content, would it? So I'm going to take a hit here. I'm going to remove the warranty sticker and I'm going to see if I can fix this PlayStation. Bearing in mind, I don't have any donors of these consoles, so I have no replacement caps or chips for certain areas. What I'm hoping is that some of the caps, resistors and other components on the motherboard are the same as the older revisions, because I have plenty of those as donor boards. Let's give this a test just to double check that the listing was correct. Did you see why I said I'm nervous about seeing if I can make today a profit? Because I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix this or not. Here we go. We don't have the disk drive, by the way. It is just the digital version. You can actually just add a disk drive onto these at a later time if you wanted to. Okay, so it beeps and we don't get any lights. Okay, so it's quite a consistent beep, isn't it? All right, there's not a long time between them. I don't know where the UART points are going to be on this, and like I said, I don't have a replacement power supply, so I can't just straight up replace the power supply, unfortunately. So, without further ado, let's get this apart, in which I've only done that twice, I think, and hopefully see if we can fix it. Those just snap off, don't they? And this is where the disk drive goes. You can see we've got the connector here for it. And there we have our warranty sticker, which is indeed intact. If I can't fix this console, I'm confident I could list it up as faulty and get more than £190 for it, even with the warranty sticker void. And the reason being is because there's going to be people who want these as donor boards to fix other consoles. My point being is that I actually might want to keep this for myself as a donor console, which is why I think we might end up in a loss today if I can't fix it. Now, is there any way that we get an SSD in this brand new console? Come on! No. I think for ease, I'm just going to take off these two panels so it doesn't wobble as much. Still kind of wobbles. Obviously, the console is ridiculously clean. Goodbye, warranty sticker. Okay, from what I can remember, I think that's everything. Yep. We got spaghetti junction loop here. Take off the antenna wires. Just like that. Jubbly! Loop them around, get them out of the way. Up there. Well, that's a long silver screw. I'm pretty sure I say that every time I take this apart. Wow, that's a long silver screw, because we're just not used to seeing that on the PlayStation 5. These are definitely factory fresh screws, that is for sure. Either that or I'm just feeling incredibly weak today. Probably the latter. I'm really hoping that I'm just going to find a random short on the board and we can isolate it and remove whatever cap it is and replace if need be. If it's going to be something like a Southbridge or an SSD controller IC or one of the big main chips, I'm not going to have any of those. So this will be interesting. Right, clear all these out of the way. That's done. Oh, there's one over here that I've left in. Slowly pull up from here. There we go. Right, anything obvious? Doesn't look like it. Straight off the bat, no big holes in the board, which is always nice to see. No explosions. The ports themselves seem to be fine, so we don't have any crossing pins on the USB ports or anything like that to stop it from working. I have seen something though. Wait there. I can see something with my eye. I don't know how I've managed to see that. Let's go over to the scope real quick. And this is pretty much from factory. Nobody's been inside this console before. So how is this a thing? Unless this is exactly where our short is. Wait there. This is the Wi-Fi IC. Look at that cap. What are you doing, my friend? Are you on the board or are you off? Or have you just not made your decision? Ah, imagine it was because this was touching something. I don't think it was. Let's, is this cap shorted by any chance? I mean, we do have some markings in the middle. Is this a shorted cap? And we do have a smaller cap, I think, which goes across, or is that resistor? No, it looks like a cap. I think that's a cap anyway. This one here, the smaller one, I just want to see if that is shorted. Let's put that there. So meet it in continuity mode. No. All right, that would have been too easy. Let me just, whilst I'm here, I'm just going to measure around the Wi-Fi IC. Do we have our short here? No. Okay. That would have really been too easy, hey? Okay, all right. Yeah, no shorts. Unfortunate. So I am going to just put that back, but first I need to get the rest of this out of the chassis. But weird though, hey? Not been opened before and that cap just wasn't on the pads properly. Saying that, I am just going to chance it and see if that was maybe causing some issue somewhere. I don't think it was, but it's worth a try. Power on. Beep. No. Still the same thing. Okay. And whilst we're here, I'm going to see what kind of short it is that we have. Is it, what rail is it on? Is it on the 12 volt? Is it on the 5, the 3? What is it? So I'm going to ground my black probe there. Now I don't know where I'm going to be poking here, so I'm just going to try and find each individual rail. So this is supposedly the 12 volt. We have 12 volts, which is good. That means the power supply is good. I'm happy with that. HDMI circuit is up here. So I wonder if we're going to get what I want here. Do we get 5? Yeah, and do we get 3.3 the other side? What about when I go to push the power on? Do we get 3.3? No, okay. That looks like the connector that we need that 3.3 for. Could be wrong though. There's the 5. There's another 5. Oh, okay. We have 3.3 here. Okay, so we have 5. We have 3.3. We have our SSD controller around here. What do we have when I push here? Nothing. Other side. Here. Just a straight up 5 volts there as well. We got 12 volts on F7005 down here. I'm pretty sure this is the bank for the RAM. Could be wrong. But I get nothing when I push that. I'm just measuring on the fuses themselves, and standby voltages, we seem to get 5 volts across most of them. So I don't think this is going to be an easy solve. Nothing obvious just yet. Okay, so I do get some, so that goes up to like 2.3, 2.5 there. Oh no, it went up to 3.3, didn't it? Yeah, it was 3.3. I get a 2 volts here. Could be normal. I do just also want to see what happens when we inject 12 volts here. What kind of behavior do we get with the amps? Ready? So injecting now. What do we get? 86, 150, and then drop down to 0. Okay, so let's do that again one more time. 1, 2, 3. And now it's just sat at 0.010. Let's take it off, give it a second, and try again. Let's try now. Okay, so about 150. Around about 150 for me, I think might be something like the SSD controller IC, but I could be completely wrong. Let's get the board out of the chassis and inspect this further. How's the back of the board look on first inspection? So this board is a EDM040. Again, can't see any explosion or anything like that, which is nice. Move this out of the way. Clear up our liquid metal here. Okay, around the Wi-Fi IC, do I see any issues? No, I don't. Okay, try and familiarize ourselves with the board if possible. On something like this, a visual inspection is going to be key, because maybe something from the factory was done incorrectly on this device, and then after certain amounts of use, it's just packed in, you know? Could be anything from like a little solder ball, anything really. This is the HDMI IC. How's that looking? The HDMI port itself, looking all right. This is our South Bridge. This is a 69GG. CXD 900 69GG. Oh, a 69GG I think is what I actually need on a donor board of mine. But everything else seems to be okay on this side of the board anyway. This is the flip side. I wonder if you do anything to the firmware on these ones with the older revisions, you could convert a disc to a digital, but not a digital to a disc. I wonder, because this is just plug and play with this connector here with the disk drive, whether you can actually just have one BIOS, if that makes sense. Who knows? I'm saying that because maybe we have an issue with the BIOS. First things first, definitely not going to make a difference. Nonetheless, let's get it done. Tiny bit of flux on those pads. Take our soldering iron and just apply some leaded. Take our little cap and put it back in its home. Just want to make sure it's on the pad properly. Just giving it a bit of a clean. Wherever I do, it doesn't want to sit properly, so that will do. It's on the pad. Give the area a nice clean. Not the best job, but it's on the board. What reading do we get in diode mode, just to make sure we're all good? Yeah, 0.2, and this will be ground. Yeah, nice. For argument's sake, don't think it's going to work, but I'm just going to put it back in the chassis and try and power it on, see if it's made the slightest difference. And 1, 2, 3. No, exactly the same. Okay. Back under the scope. We checked our fuses on one side, so we have I think 1 or 2 more fuses this side, but that might be 12 volts. But let's just double check. I think it's this one. Yeah, that's the fuse. Okay. I mean, it's got an arrow here, but I don't think that's a fuse. Wouldn't make sense. Yeah, that's ground. That's a cap. Now we just go into a long prodding process and see if I can find any shorts with the multimeter. Check the back of the south bridge whilst I'm here. South bridge seems to be okay. This is the encoder IC for the HDMI circuit. All seems alright. I've looked in pretty much every single area on this side of the board. I can't find anything. Let's go over to the bottom side again and see if I can find any shorts here. We got 46 ohms here on the SSD controller, but that's pretty normal. 46 ohms, that's okay. Just low impedance. Below 50 ohms in my multimeter beeps. That's okay. Not to say we don't have an issue with the SSD controller IC. That's the 47 ohms we was talking about, so that connects directly to where we just measured, 47 ohms. So far so good. I think this is the main 12 volt power rail here, or it'd be 5 volts maybe. This might be where it converts from 12 to 5, might be this little IC here, the 3219A. Could be completely incorrect, but all seems to be alright. Again, the 12 volt here, but we're going to assume we don't have a short here because we get 12 volts. Alright, so we've checked pretty much every single cap on the board that could potentially have a short, we've looked at. Let's see what the RAM rail's at. If this is at around about 14, 15 ohms, I'm sure, because this is Samsung, I'm sure that's what Samsung RAM is meant to be. So let's just see. What do we have here? 40, yeah, 13. So 13 ohms showing there. Okay, again, kind of makes sense. Where's the RAM control? Oh, what's that? Oh, it's just a little pie. Based on the information we've acquired so far, I say, personally, it's going to be either the South Bridge or the SSD controller. Now, SSD controller, is this the same one as the other PS5s? Because I don't think these have really changed per revision. Again, could be wrong. What's this? This is SCXD 9070 GG. And the ones that we have from other PS5s is 062 GG. So those are the differences there. Look, that's a 070 and this is a 062. Everything else is pretty much the same on that top line. But we've got a 6.2 and a 7.0. I wonder if they're balled the same or not. So I have completed UART on the board and I've completely reset the codes to make sure that what I was getting was an accurate reading. And the one that come up was this and this only. So 055 SSD banks IO error between SSD controller. Now remember I was saying that the SSD controller is a 70 GG. Even on the 033 and the 031 board that I have, I don't think I have a 70 GG. But I was speaking to Phil, aka the coder, and he did say it could be one of the chips that actually controls the SSD controller. The RT chip or DA, both are compatible from what I understand. So I should be able to take that chip from a donor, at least then test that and see if we can get it working without having to change the SSD controller itself. I don't know if this also potentially could mean it might be one of the SSD chips itself, but I really want to get this working. Let's go ahead and change out that chip I was talking about. So I believe this is the IC that we're talking about, the RT5127, and somewhere along here, I believe it was on these caps here, that's where we're measuring the 47 ohms that I was talking about earlier, and this is right next to, subsequently, an SSD chip. So I'm just going to have a look on a donor. Take this one off. 480 degrees Celsius. Airflow speed is a nice cushy 99%. Here we go. Here's our donor chip. There we go. Yes, the dialog IC. So even though this says something different, we should be able to use it. Should be no difference here. I'm not going to replace any of the solder here because, again, we should just be able to do it on the unleaded that we already have. It should make this job a little bit easier. Make the board nice and hot. Go to put the chip on. Come off that heat. Nice and solid. Come in with our flux. Lower the airflow to about 50. And this should just go into place. There it is. No pushing down, nothing like that. That should have just done the job. Nice little clean. Make sure we're all good. Check our soldering. Looks okay. Right, let's give this a test now. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh, now it's no power, no beep. Okay, well that's good because something's different. Let me go for a reflow of that chip with a bit of flux and push down and see if we can just make a better connection perhaps. Right, here we go, let's reflow this. Make sure that's not bridging with anything. I don't think it is, but nice clean. Okay, yeah, we're good. Any difference? 3, 2, 1. Still no power. Is this chip actually compatible then? Interesting. I'll replace it with another one just to make sure. And this time I'll try and make sure it's a an RT rather than a dialogue chip. See if that does make a difference. Oh, I had it round the wrong way. Oh no. I just realised, because pin 1's up there, but I was confused because the writing on the chip is here. But pin 1 on this chip is here. Pin 1 on this chip is down here, even though the writing is the same. If that makes any sense. What a moron. So I should be able to use this one. Do you know what? I'm not going to try it now just in case I've completely and utterly ruined it. But we'll go with this one. And this is definitely the correct way. Wow. Rookie mistake. Very rookie mistake. Hopefully, I've not ruined the console. You guys are probably screaming at me in the comments. I can see it now. How are we looking? Yeah, good. This side. Nice. Good. Good. Alright, I'm going to put the bracket on this time, just in case I do get lucky. Here we go. Same issue? Or different one now? Power? 3, 2, 1. Same issue. Okay. So it's not that chip. I don't get the same draw now. In fact, it only goes up to about 25 milliamps rather than what it did, which was 150 milliamps. So I wonder if, putting that chip on incorrectly, I have done something bad to the SSD controller, perhaps. I think I might just try and reflow this and see if that makes a difference. So just reflow the SSD controller IC as well as maybe the SSD and stuff that's around it. Just because why not? I don't really have anything else to go by right now because this is me working on the first 040 that I have. I'm just going to try a few things and see what happens. Because at the moment, I've not really got anything left to lose if I keep this board as a donor, you know, other than to get it working. What I do end up messing up here is the value of this if I was to sell it as a donor, if I keep replacing and swapping a bunch of stuff. But I don't think I'm going to be doing that, if I'm honest. So my only option at the moment is to fix it. So I'm going 460 degrees Celsius with an airflow speed of 99%. And we're just going to give it a nudge. Whilst I'm here, we'll do, like I said, a few other chips as well. SSD chips. I'm pretty sure the one I just did was the controller. And these are the actual SSDs. I don't know which ones of these are actually interchangeable just yet, because you can only change, I think, two of them on the older revisions. And just one more, which is a little bit out of scope right now, out of the camera. That's because I got my fume extractor in the way, so forgive me. But I can assure you that's being reflowed as well. Board's obviously very, very hot at the moment, so I need to wait a little bit before giving this a proper clean. Give it a flush as well. With some canned air. Okay, everything should have been cleaned out. Yeah, we don't have any flux under there now. Good. Right, let's give this a test. Did that do anything? 3, 2, 1. No. It's doing exactly the same issue. So it's not like a cracked solder ball or anything like that, unfortunately. Let's see what draw I get now. 25 milliamps and just does nothing. It goes up to 35 milliamps, then drops down to 25. And then just holds at 25 by the looks of it. Okay, so I could have potentially written this off when I'd done what I did with the DA chip. Definitely a possibility, and I'm not ruling it out. Just need to remember that. I've not reflowed the SSDs on here, but again, I don't know if these are interchangeable, so I'm not too sure if I can swap them out, for example. And I don't know what ones I can swap out on this board either. We have 2 SSDs here, and 3, 4. So this only has 4. I'm pretty sure the older revisions have 5. This chip is shouting at me. This is like the SSD controller IC, I think, or something along those lines. And I obviously, again, don't have a 040, but I'm thinking maybe I'll just replace this with one of the older revisions. Still a little bit of flux around that, and just see how I get on. So I'm going to take, this is one that I have from a donor. The difference is I have SEC107 here. On this one, it's SEC325, but all the other numbers are pretty much identical, except for the one right at the bottom where this is a J2 and this is a GW. But again, this can't get any worse than what it is because it doesn't work, so might as well just try it. Here we go. A little bit of flux there. We also just need to flood it with some leaded as well, just to make sure we can wick it properly. There we go. Looking good. I'm pretty sure I have a stencil for this. I might not, in which case this could take a while. Let's see. Does that one do the job? I think it does, even though we're missing a few holes. Yeah, we're good. I can just use this. Lovely. Just like that. So I've got paste here that's been dried at around about 200 degrees, and now I'm using it on the chip. That trick was taught to me by Paul Daniels. There we go. A little bit more down here. When the paste is dry, it solders better for whatever reason. We go 290 degrees at 20% airflow. Here we go. Beautiful. Lift it up and poke through. And now we just go for a little bit of a reflow, just to make sure we're all good. Nice. Just a little clean. There we go. That chip is ready to go. If this works, I will cry. There goes one. Also have to use our wick here to get that solder off the board. And just to be safe again, I'm going to cover it with lidded. And then wick it away. Fresh flux. Nice. Everything looks nice and clean. Okay. Tiny bit of flux now. Teeny tiny bit. Just wiping it around the area. Chip needs to go in place. There. A little bit over more. Yeah, I want to say that's good. 50% airflow, 450 degrees Celsius now. Want to make sure this contacts the board, and then we're going to come in and add some flux. So we'll come in from the top. This will be leaded solder. So relatively a lot easier to put on the board than it was to get off. This is our chip from the donor board. There we go, it's just sat in place. Okay, now I come off the heat. Board's at a little bit of an angle, which is why I put some more up here. And now we just go for the reflow. Wait for that flux to bubble and sit, which I think it has done now, so I'm going to try and attempt to tap. Yeah. Definitely reflowed, see? Come off the heat. Again, a nice full clean, and then we can test again. Let's check underneath and just make sure we're all good and clean of flux. Yeah, we are, and the SSD controller is as well, so that's okay. We're all connected. That's a nice little reball there. Has it made a difference? Let's find out. Power in. Any difference? Do we get any LEDs? 3, 2, 1. Nothing. Oh, wait. Okay. That's different. Because now I only get a beep once every few seconds rather than straight away. So that has changed the pattern for us, isn't it? Because I was pressing it before, I was getting quite a consistent beep. Now I'm not getting that. I do wonder if we get any different reading with UART. So let's try that. Interestingly, after changing that chip, I get a known unknown, a different error, and it says HDMI to APU, check fuse F7502 storage controller, which is interesting to see that it's different to what we had before, and that's after a reset of the codes as well, a refresh. So I'll quickly check F7502, but it could be that I've just shorted out the SSD controller IC. I don't know at this point. So am I a little bit stuck? Yes, I am. Wait, we have F7004 here. I don't have a short, do I? No. Do I get a continuous path on this fuse? Wait. I don't? You guys can't hear the beep, right? And I'm assuming that's talking about this is a fuse here. F7004 is here. That's not getting a continuous path. Why? Putting to diode mode. What do I get this side? 0.36. What do I get this side? 0.38. So wait, is this a resistor? Why is this saying fuse F7004? Unless I'm being silly. I don't necessarily see a fuse anywhere other than that. Unless it's meant to be here and it's not on the board for whatever reason. I'm going to go ahead and assume that's meant to be a fuse. So I'm just going to change it and see what happens. Should you do this? Absolutely not. Am I doing it for science? Yes. This actually here, I've just worked out that F7004 is basically F7502 on the older boards. Subsequently, the fuse that I'm taking is from that exact same place on the other board. Could this ruin everything? Absolutely. I'm in too deep now. I also think I ruined stuff quite a while ago. So, right, do we get a continuous path now? Yes, we do. Okay. Imagine if it was just that. Right, let's test. Hopefully, no magic smoke or anything like that, because we might have just joined two paths that aren't meant to be joined. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Nothing. Same thing? Exactly the same. Same sort of beeps. I wonder if that fuse has blown. Out of interest, whilst we're here, it's in DC voltage. Ground that. Let's check this fuse. This side. 5 volts. This side. 5 volts. Okay, so maybe it is meant to be. I'll try UART and get some different codes, and we'll go from there. Hopefully, we get some different codes anyway. Okay, I've done UART, and I'm back to where I was at the start, which is SSD banks IO error between SSD controller 1055. Kind of gives me a little bit of happiness, to be honest, because it means in my head that potentially I didn't ruin the console and now everything is kind of back to where it was at the start when I started looking. That might not be true. However, I think I'm going to need a 70GG SSD controller. So I'm going to open up a PlayStation 5 that I believe is a 033 board. It requires a 69GG Southbridge, and therefore I'm assuming that it has a 70GG SSD controller. If my donor board has a 70GG controller, SSD controller, I'll put that on this board instead of this SSD controller and see if that's the issue. If it doesn't have a 70GG SSD controller, I'll take the Southbridge, the 69GG from this one, and put it onto the donor board, and maybe we make a profit that way to just save this episode. I'm going to do that in a live stream though, so what you'll see now will be clips of that. Wish me luck. So this is the one that I think potentially has our 70GG SSD controller and a 69 Southbridge. I mean, that's what the label does state, right? Waiting on SB 69GG 0.010 amp draw. If this SSD controller here is a 70GG, which I'm going to say actually probably isn't, and the reason being is because of the way that these markings on the chip are currently laid out. Because I'm pretty sure that these markings mean that it's a 62GG. Let's have a look. This is a big moment of truth. 62GG. Okay, all right. So our only other hope then is that this specific board that we're looking at is a faulty board, and I've put the fault down to a bad Southbridge, a 69GG. And I've been waiting for a 69GG Southbridge on this board for the longest of time. And I have an EDM 040 board that subsequently has a 69GG. So what I'm thinking is that I replace the 69GG Southbridge on here with the 69GG Southbridge on the newer board that I currently have. It's a nice clean pull. I wonder if I can use the same stencil. Does it look like I can use the same stencil? Who knows? Leaded on this Southbridge. To be honest, some of these look oxidized, hey? Right, that's leaded. And then we're going to grab some wick. Whoop! Dropping things, breaking things. Because this would have now mixed with the unleaded on the board, you see. And now we just swoop this down. Now you can be a little bit more rigorous with the ICs themselves, so that you can still break them, so please be careful, but they're not as sensitive as the actual board, where you can scrape off the conformal coating. But you can still do damage to these, so be careful. Now, I'm waiting on cotton buds. I should actually go and get some from the other room, but I'm just going to use a microfiber cloth here. Now, I need to see if our stencil is the same for this as what it is the other one. Is the 61GG the same layout as a 69? I mean, that looks pretty similar to me. I might be wrong. There might be a single bore under here that doesn't line up with the other one, but I mean, so far so good it looks like. When you say drop one in the hole, I mean, it's automatically about 17, isn't it? There we go. So this is how I do these, right? Yes, excess. Yes, a lot. Then we just do this. These tweezers are going to need a good cleaning because these tweezers are horrendously fluxy. There we go. Okay, all right. I can't remember the temperature and speed that I used for this. I think it's literally 1%. I think it's 1% at I want to say like 390 on this, to be honest. It sounds like a lot, but I think that's what I have been doing it as. Again, we've got a tiny bit of flux on this already. And what we're looking for here is the balls to turn almost like a dry grey. Like a dull grey is the word I'm looking for. A dull grey. There we go. Can you see that they're starting to turn that dull grey? As an indication that they're actually soldered to the pads. There we go. There we go. They're all starting to form a little bit. See that? Still going to be pretty messy. Pretty messy at the moment. There we go. Okay, so we can leave it like that for 2 seconds. Now, a lot of them look out of place and it looks a little bit dodgy, right? What we do is now we come in with some flux. And we just now go for a nice reflow. I'm just going to put it up to 5% because those balls, actually 10%, because those balls are solid now. Ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. What's nice about doing it this way is that they are all indeed the same size balls as well. Bottom right, missing one ball. No, it's just there was no flux there. There was no flux there. So the ball's there. The flux just didn't expand enough to that down there, if that makes sense. Just to confirm, if I put a little bit of flux there, now it looks the same. And I'll go for the reflow just to make sure, but I'll just reflow that ball because what we don't want is that ball going astray when we go to put the IC on. There we go. Just to make sure it's on the pad properly. Then we'll give it a nice clean, and then we're going to put it on the actual board itself. I did reball this Southbridge, I'm pretty sure, just in case there was any dull pads underneath. Just put that on the white tack. Hope it doesn't burn through the white tack. That wouldn't be good, would it? Now just more flux. And in case I didn't reflow this before, I'm just going to add some leaded solder here. So I'm using the bigger tip on my Hakko now. What's that? Oh, that's conformal coating. So that's conformal coating there, which is good because it means that I have done this before. Look at that. So much easier. So I'm going to give it a little tap now because I believe it's not molten just yet. Let's check now. There we go. Now I'm going to come off the heat. We saw it bounce back into place. That means that it is all the balls underneath are adhered to the pads. So that's really, really good. And now I'm going to do the flush. Let's just inspect the balls underneath the south bridge. We can see that there is now no flux. Lovely jubbly. And all those balls seem to be soldered onto the board correctly. There we go. Just make sure we get the other couple of sides as well. Yeah. I'm confident and happy with my job here. If I do manage to get this board working, we've got some extra work to do. Right. 3, 2, 1. The 040 PS5 Slim board, which is this one, is not fixable, to my knowledge anyway. And to my ability, should I say, which is rather upsetting. So just to round up for you, I tried fixing the PS5 Slim on stream, but I basically wasn't able to because I didn't have the correct SSD controller. So I will put that to the side, and hopefully in the future, if I get the correct SSD controller, which will be a 070, then I'll come back and try and fix it. But for today's episode, we are in fact at a loss. I did try and fix another PS5 with components from this PS5 Slim, but that didn't work either. I'm so upset to have to do this to you, Sally. And just to confirm, we had such a good run. 13 in a row. But I'm afraid I'm going to have to put a minus £190 here to end our streak, which is a brutal amount of money, by the way. It's not like a minus £5 or £10. It's minus £190. My own doing, because I want to keep the board to see if I can fix it with the SSD controller. If not, I'll keep it for parts anyway, because it's nice to have a newer console for parts. Just like that, taking our total profit to a measly £560.18. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I'll leave the first episode in this playlist right up here so you can watch from the very start. We had an absolutely fantastic win streak. Have a great rest of your day, week, weekend, afternoon, whatever it is for you. And I'll see you in, as always, the next one. Peace.